holistic way. It just cannot be physical. It is a combination of mental health and physical health. Now, all these products are there to support your physical health, to support your well-being, right? But until your mind, until your mental health is also very well, very nice, there will be problem in your body coming again, right? So that is something which is a problem in today's lifestyle. People are taking supplements. People are thinking that just by taking supplements they can live a healthy life, but that is just one part of it. Like just like the DXN's motto, health, wealth and happiness. First there is health, then comes the wealth, and then comes the happiness. So it is a proper loop, proper steps which you have to take. Just like that, for your health, first thing you also need to take care is your mental health. And when we talk about health in Ayurveda, there is this book, the first slok of this book is we bow down to the unique doctor through which we can eradicate the mental and physical illness. Now, the point is that mental comes first. In the ancient book of Ayurveda, the mental illness is taken care of first, right? So, all those mental troubles which we face can manifest into the physical form, and all the physical forms then feed back into the mental illness part. So for that's why today again we have started a new chapter in this session series, that we are bringing on a psychologist, a clinical psychologist from DXL Clinics, who will be taking the session on anxiety, what it is, how we can manage it, how it is not a problem, it is a condition which is developed through via evolution, and how when it is under control, how we can do wonders with it. But when it is not under control, it can damage as well, right? So I'll not take further time. Let me bring Mr. Mukta here. Welcome, Mukta. Thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you so much, Dr. Harman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Over to you.
Yeah. So before I begin, I would really like to thank DXN Clinics and thank you, Dr. Herman, for welcoming me on board. Today, I'm here to talk to you on a personal level. So he did speak about physical health. He spoke about mental health. He also brought in the shloka that is there in the Ashtanga Hridaya text, the heart of Ayurveda. It talks about how physical health and mental health both go hand in hand. So like you know, there's yin and yang, there's good and bad. So it is like that. You cannot, say if you're physically good, then you're mentally good. No, that's not how it works. And if you're mentally good, you're physically good. That's not how it works, because it will become, very dual. It'll become two sides. There'll be two faces of it. But, to be holistically well, you need to be both physically and mentally well, because if the one is affected, the other will be affected as well. So with that, I would like to welcome everyone who's present here. This session will be conducted in English. I hope everyone's comfortable in this language. And after that, I would like to personally introduce myself to all of you. I am Mukta Malyada. I am a clinical psychologist at DXN Clinics. There's a new department that we've opened here in DXN Clinics that, works with the mind aspect of it, because everyone knows that physically being wealthy, to an extent, it is good, it does help, but we have to be healthy mentally as well. So the first question to all of you, you can drop your answers in the chat box, and let's make it a little interactive like everyone says in their sessions. But I really hope, because this is my first session, and to be honest, even I'm a little anxious as well. So let's start. A very good morning. And the first question, like I said, do you know what anxiety is? Have you ever heard of the term anxiety? What, according to you, is anxiety? So Manjunath, Mr. Manjunath says yes, he is heard of anxiety. Okay, that is good that you've heard of anxiety. Anxiety is not a foreign term. Very nice. Okay, what is anxiety? If you were to tell anxiety, define anxiety in one word, what is anxiety? Unknown fear. That's like very nice answer. It is yes. Okay. Unpleasantness. That is correct. Increased heartbeat. Feel stressed. Okay. Miss Shilpi Kumari, you said feel stressed. So I think it is very important for me to, define what stress is, what anxiety is, what worry is. I'm not saying you guys are not wrong, you're absolutely correct. Anxiety comes with all of this. So let us take an example of a heavy load truck. Okay, you might have seen these trucks everywhere. During the harvest season, they are overloaded to a point that you don't even see the truck, you only see the load behind the truck. Right? The truck is crossing a bridge. The bridge is a little shaky, it's not that strong. You see that truck going across the bridge. So let us pause here and look at that situation. The truck here, the heavy load truck here, is the pressure, is the outside thing that is happening to you, right? And when you're on the bridge, like I said, it is a little, here and there, and it is feeling that heaviness of the truck. That becomes the stress. And now, what comes after stress? The pressure and the stress combined, the anxiety kicks in. You feel, okay, what if the truck tumbles? What if the bridge breaks down? What if the wires, the huge ropes holding the bridge, cuts? What if the load itself falls down? What if the truck punctures? The tires of the trucks are flat. All the what ifs that I spoke of so far, after the pressure, after the stress, that is anxiety. And I'm very happy, I'm very glad that I see a lot of answers here. And this example of mine might have taken you somewhere about, what pressure is, what and how it is caused, what stress is, and what anxiety is. With that, I think we should take the PPT. I've made a very beautiful PPT with the help of, doctor here, and I would like to take you through. So, like I said, it's just one small example. Now, we will take all the answers that you've said so far. Miss Meenal says feeling of worry. Mr. Ankush says stress. That's correct. Mr. Manjunath says it's mixture of angry and other emotion, which again is absolutely true. Someone says futuristic imagination. Yes, it is true. Futuristic imagination. I'm sorry. Yes, futuristic imagination. Someone, Raja Radha Krishnan says unclear, confused status with no identified fear. Yes, if we can take the next slide. Yes, I'm very, thankful that all of you know what exactly anxiety is. When I came in, when I started this session, I thought, how do I explain anxiety? How do I explain anxiety? And, I was talking to someone, and then we started talking about trucks, and I thought, okay, truck would be the best example for me to actually explain what anxiety is, because everyone's seen it, Anxiety, like someone actually mentioned, that we cannot actually explain what it is, but through examples, through names and forms, we'll be able to tell what exactly anxiety is. So many mentioned, but I would like to, say it in the layman's terms, that anxiety is worry. It is that social awkwardness. There's no chill, there's performance pressure. You've gone into the symptoms, Miss Meenal. Rapid heart rate. There, someone said palpitation. Miss Vishaka says chinta. Yes, that's right. If we can take the next slide again, because you like the truck example. Could you please go back? Yes, because you like the trucks example, I would like to, bring in another analogy that will help you understand it better. What happens exactly when we are anxious, right? So you live in a building and suddenly a fire broke out. Okay, what is the first thing that you will do to alert everyone living in that building? I need answers. What is the first thing that everyone would do to alert everyone in the building that there's a fire? Yeah, exactly. That's the fire alarm. And what does the fire alarm do? It tells everyone that there's a fire in the building. The sirens, yeah, the sirens will go on very loud and clear so that everyone knows. Okay, what do you think the person who hears the siren feel at that moment? They'll have so many physical and mental reactions. Yes, it will make them anxious. I will take the symptoms on the next slide when we go to that. But before that, I would like to tell you, here the person knows that the fire's broken out somewhere and they're feeling anxious. But there are times that when we don't know what's going to happen in the future. That is how anxiety works. Anxiety is the alarm system of the body. Your body will start doing anything and everything to help save you, because you might have heard of this, you might have read about this, that we humans are on survival. Everything that we do, we study, we work, we eat, we work so that we provide income for our family. All of this is for survival. If you did not have the threat to, fight for your survival, would you still do any of this? Would you still go to school? Would you still go to college? Would you still work? Would you still want to, build, take that promotion, buy a bigger house, maintain that family? Would you do any of it? If there was no threat to your survival, would you do any of it? I think a majority of you would say no. At least 99% of the people I see, the clients, the patients that I take, say no, because that is anxiety. We always want to survive, and anxiety is one way that tells our body through the alarm system that you need to survive, you need to fight, you need to flight. There's only two things that people think that they can do when they come across a situation, is that either fight, take up your weapon, it could be anything, I'm not talking about the literal weapon, but it could be anything, fight, or just run away. These days, with the growing social media, people, want to do anything and everything. They want to fight each and everything. But do you think they're actually fighting? Sitting at home, at the comforts of your home and posting and being on social media, it is causing a lot of fear with the current scenario that is going on about the war not exactly, I don't know if I can even quote or call it a war, but all of that is causing a lot of anxiety. And what is it that you are doing, and what is it that is happening? Before I move on and tell you what happens when someone is, anxious, when someone is in that state, what is it that happens? Like, tell me physically what all happens. Then we can take up the next slide, and it will tell you some of the many reasons or many things that happens when someone is, going through anxiety or they're feeling anxious. We can take up the next slide. And yes, what happens? Yeah, the heart races, palpitations, worried, increased heart rate, there's tightness in your chest. Exactly. It's, thank you so much again that you guys know and you're doing majority of the work here. I prepared literally very well. I read so many research papers, I read all my textbooks, though it was a few years ago that I completed my degree. Yes, these are the symptoms of anxiety. There's a rapid heartbeat. It heightens because, like someone earlier said, when someone is anxious, they either fight or flight. To that, you need energy. And how is that the energy increases? Is when your heart is pumping very fast. There's muscle tension. There are often times that, someone, people who are going through anxiety, who are anxious, they also freeze because they don't know, they are in confusion and they just cannot move. There's shortness of breath, there's sweaty palms, so that they can grip better if they're holding on to certain things. There's upset stomach because when a person is going through anxiety, they feel that they are in danger because the alarm system has gone off, and when in danger, would you stay back and finish cooking at your house? No, you would run from there. Exactly why you have an upset stomach, because the body does not have the time to digest your food that you had. So the body will shut down, it will stop digesting, and it would want to puke. Exactly why you feel nauseous. There are times that maybe there's someone very special that you're meeting for the first time and you have all these symptoms. There's an exam that you have to give. There's sometimes you actually, you're going for an interview. You go through all of this. And what does this stem from? You will know what this stems from. So these are all the physical symptoms I'm talking about, because anxiety is like anything else. It's just not one, it is two. It is both physical and it is both mental. So when it comes to anxiety, we have to work both on the physical level as well as the mental level. Can we take up the next slide? Yes. So here I'm talking about the mental symptoms. When I was talking about the trucks example, I told you when the, trucks on the bridge, all the what ifs, constant what ifs. This prepares you. How? The thing is, when, you know, people say that you have to be optimistic all the time, think positive, manifest positive. There are times that we think negative. It is very natural that we think, what if this goes wrong? What if this happens? We think of the what ifs. The mind of ours, the brain of ours tells us all the negatives as well. You know why? Can you tell me why? Why the what ifs and why we go into the negative self talk or the pessimistic self talk? We go into that so that we prepare ourselves. We anticipate and then we prepare. So that we know, okay, if this goes wrong, chalo, I have another plan B. If plan B was wrong, I have plan C. If plan C also goes down, we have another 23 alphabets in the system, right? So that is why we always look ahead, because we don't know what the future holds. And this comes from ignorance. I'm not talking about ignorance as in that you don't want to know, but this fear is because you exactly, there's so much uncertainty that anxiety brings in, right? That's the bitter truth of life. Everything can't go according to our wish. Exactly. The more you're in the future, the more uncertain you are, the more you don't know, and this not knowing causes fear. This not knowing causes the ignorance, as in that you don't know, and this don't know causes the alarm system to go off, and this brings us to the what ifs, and this takes us to the hypervigilance, because when you're always looking out, okay, what's gonna happen next, you're always aware, okay, this, when you're going for an exam, you make sure that you know everything. All your senses are heightened when you're anxious. You start hearing more, you start smelling more, you start seeing more, you start feeling more. And this, when there's so much input, there will obviously be a lot of thoughts. Don't you think? Like, you tell me that something has happened, it was a surprise for you, even a very happy surprise, you go through all these emotions, you go through all of these symptoms, you have these racing thoughts as to, you want to figure out, because you want to know ye kaise hua, how did this happen. And then it takes you to restlessness. Even though you're happy, you're just not sure, you're shaking, you want to pace up and down the room, you want to know how exactly that the person surprised you. And when someone's anxious, they are on edge. For example, uh, let us talk about the interview, because I'm a young adult. The common people that I see, they have some of the other interview for an appraisal, for a promotion, for a new job, or just talking to your superiors. It feels like an interview, and you're on edge. Ki, what will they ask? How will I answer? Okay, if they ask this way, I will answer this way. You always want to be prepared, but can you always be prepared? You guys tell me, can you always be prepared? Can you always know what is going to happen? No. Exactly. Miss Shilpi says that you can never be prepared. And it's true for everyone, because it's difficult. How can you be prepared? Did you know that you were going to be born, or your name would be this? You did not know that, because of the uncertainty. If we can take the next slide. This uncertainty brings in fear. Have you, like, ever noticed that the infinity symbol, like the sign that we do infinity, it is never ending. It feeds on each other. It keeps on going on and on and on and on. So let us so the fear and anxiety here, when I was making this slide, I thought, what should I put? I thought, okay, chalo, fear and anxiety, they're an infinite loop, that I know. How well would I be able to explain it to the others? And then I was like, maybe I can ask them if the hen came first or the egg. Can you actually tell if the hen came first or the egg? You cannot, right? That is how the fear and anxiety exist. Fear feeds on anxiety, anxiety feeds on fear. What causes the fear? Very simple. You go into a dark room, won't you feel fear? Because you don't know what that room holds for you. But the moment the lights on, all the fear goes away, all the anxiety goes away, because now you know what that room holds for you. This, reminds me of a very good example. Back in college, my college in Bangalore, it had very good nature, lots of trees, lots of birds, lots of dogs as well. And my psychology professor, she had a very designated spot for her parking. So she tells us, she was talking about anxiety, and she had heard about a lot of stories that there was this very cute dog in our campus, and everyone wanted to pet it because it was cute, but it was not exactly cute because it used to bark. You can never go near the dog. So she had heard about all of this, and that thing instilled a lot of anxiety. What if she comes face to face with the dog? Right? Then one day she was parking her car, and then she comes in front of the dog, and now she freezes. All the thoughts, all the stories that she's heard about the dog comes flashing in. She has racing thoughts. Her heartbeats, they go crazy. She's sweating. She just does not know what to do. And this brings in the fear. And now somehow, like, she got out of the situation, but she said that the thoughts or the situations that the others explained brought in anxiety, and this anxiety, when she encountered the dog, got in fear. And now what happens, every time she sees a dog similar to the dog that she saw, or every time they see that, she hears a dog, she hears a bark, the anxiety kicks in. And this anxiety just keeps feeding onto the fear, and the fear keeps feeding onto the anxiety, because ultimately of the unknown. Right? Now that now that she knows that the dog causes fear, and this fear causes anxiety, she knows. Can she control it? Next slide. Can she control it? No, she cannot. Exactly, she cannot control it. And we here are always here, looking out for answers, how to control anxiety. Can we control anxiety? Can we control what the future holds for us? Well, if there are any magicians here, well, maybe you can, find a trick up your sleeve, but can you actually control? No, then why are we living in this illusion of control? Ki, now I know that this dog is causing fear, I will stop seeing dogs. Can that happen? It cannot happen. Anxiety is caused because of different scenarios, different situations. Every day morning, if I come tell you, okay, dogs are bad, anything, I can tell you anything, because anxiety is conditional. By birth, we are always told to be careful. ध्यान से जाना, ध्यान से पढ़ाई करना, do this carefully, make sure you ride the bike carefully, make sure you take the bus carefully, make sure you cross the road carefully. Every minute we have a warning. Our parents are 24/7 onto us. Khana khaya? No. Okay. Did you do your interview well? Did you do your exams well? Did you finish your project well? Every minute there's a warning. We feed onto that so much, and all of this is conditioned so much into us that anxiety has become normal. But when has it become normal? It's always there. We are born to survive. We are fed that throughout our childhood, and then we get so used to it that you will not find the room to be stinky if you've been there the whole life. Because smell is something that we get used to, right? That is how anxiety is. We get so used to it that even though you know, even though you know, you get used to it, But that does not mean that this goes away, because anxiety is going to be there. I listed few causes and risk factors in the PPT because anxiety can be passed on from one to the other, right? I will tell you one very famous research that we studied in psychology, and I would want to share it with you. You might have heard of it. So there was this one baby, and that baby was always exposed to a rat, a white rat. Okay. And every time the baby saw something white, they would give the baby a small shock. A very small, like not harmful, but a very small shock. Every time the baby was showed the rat, a small shock was given. Every time. It got to a point that now, even without seeing the white rat, if the baby saw anything white, even though the shock was not given, the baby got so used to it that the baby felt the shock. So that is how it works. After some time, even though it is not present, you still see things. Genetic predisposition is one of, the very common example that we say, or the common risk factor, because if the mother's pregnant and she's anxious throughout the pregnancy, it will be passed on to the baby. Okay. If the dad is always saying no, do it this way, do it that way, and you're not never letting the child to go out and explore, it will cause anxiety. If there's an addict, okay, if there's someone who is very used to being on a substance, they get so comfortable that if they don't find that substance, if they're not using or if they're not abusing the substance, then they will still feel anxiety because it will not be comfortable for them. Traumatic life events, this traumatic life events, like I talked about my professor, the dogs event, it became so traumatic, it can turn into phobia. Too much of anxiety is phobia. And then there is chronic medical conditions. So if anyone has any chronic conditions, right, let's take for example diabetes. If anyone's diagnosed with anything, you don't know what the diagnosis is. The doctors are trying each and everything, but by the end, after trying everything, you just want to have one diagnosis, and then you find out it is diabetes. Diabetes is a lifestyle disease, it's a lifestyle disorder. It can be regulated, it can go up, it can go down, it can cause anything. But they know, okay, I have diabetes, I have to control everything. But you cannot control, you cannot completely stop eating. Once people say that once they're diagnosed with diabetes, they completely stop eating sugar. No, it will reduce your sugar levels. Then there are times that you have to take sugar, right? So each and everything, we are always in this illusion to control, that we are like, I have anxiety, I don't want anxiety anymore. That cannot happen. It's like that regulator, you cannot, switch it off. It will either be low sometimes, it'll be sometimes in the mid, it'll be sometimes, on high. Can we take the next slide? Yeah. Anxiety is different in different age groups. We know, like I've spoken for like a few minutes so far, and till now this, that everyone has anxiety. You have anxiety, I have anxiety, someone sitting outside the studio also has anxiety. Everyone has anxiety, and it's different for different people, because that, okay, I'm a psychologist here, my anxiety will be different. You out there, you're doing something else, your anxiety will be different. But anxiety comes in different ways. Everyone, like the children, they have different types. It comes in different ways. Teens, they have different ways. Adults, they have different ways. Have you ever seen certain, children, certain very young kids, when they don't have that emotional support from the family, they get very clingy. You might have come across babies that sometimes if you leave the baby in the room, they're okay if their parents are a little away, that's fine for them. But there are certain babies, you keep them down for a second, they cannot, because they have not been regulated that way. They have not been made felt safe that okay, their parents are still there. This causes the clinginess. They just don't want to leave their parents. And when we grow, older, the kids grow older, they go to school, there are times that they just don't want to go to school, and this anxiety causes stomach aches. This is, a common symptom of anxiety in school going children is stomach ache. When they say they're having stomach ache, it is actually true that they're having some stomach ache, because there's fear. They don't want to go to school because there's something out there that is bothering them. You have to make sure that you sit down, talk to them, make sure they're felt safe. They know, okay, the anxiety cannot go away, but once they feel safe, they feel ready to fight the anxiety, but not run away from the anxiety. In teens, anxiety kicks in because there's a lot of changes that is happening. Everyone knows that they go through puberty, there's a lot of changes, and there's a lot of things happening within their body. There's like a lot of physical changes that is happening. This again, when not spoken about, causes anxiety, causes them to, socially withdraw. They're always irritated. It's not because of the hormones. I mean, it is because of the hormones, but hormones alone is not the reason, is what I'm saying. It will, you know they just want some space, they want to understand, and that is when we see that their grades go low. But once that phase is over, the heightened emotions, the heightened anxiety goes down, they understand, and then they get used to it, that they live with it. But if not addressed properly, it could, cause a little bit of problem here and there. But again, happy, safe space for them to talk to, family support, all of that is very important at times like this, because you are in this, I'm in this, everyone's in the same situation. But if we are able to talk about it, if we are able to, not feel shy, or we just tell that okay, this is something I'm finding difficult about, because there are certain times that you have to go to the nooks and crooks of it to understand it better. And then let's go to the adults. There's chronic worry. They get so used to it that, let us take examples of retired parents, right? They were there throughout their lives for their kids, but now that they've finished their work and the kids are on their own, there is worry that kicks in, because they feel that my kids don't need me anymore. That brings in anxiety, because they want to be there, they want to be part of the kids' life, because they were throughout. But it is both ways. The kids want to make sure that the parents know that they can do it on their own and they can now take a break, but the parents always worry, because in their eyes they're still the kids. And then there's job performance issue. You always want to have that promotion, or you want to perform better, take up better projects, and this leads to causing sleep trouble. Sleep is something that is the first thing to get disturbed after appetite when someone is going through anxiety. It's because, when someone is anxious, they're always ready to fight or run away or freeze. They have so many things going on that the brain does not shut down. It thinks that it is on danger, the building's on fire, do anything and everything to save the building, that is you. and then you cannot sleep, you cannot eat, because I've seen this very common among a few of my patients, that before the exam they say that they lose appetite, before the exams they lose sleep. It is because of anxiety. Because again, now you know that anxiety comes in different ways for different age groups. you know to be honest, 50 to 60% of what anxiety is, how it is caused, and what all happens physically, what all happens mentally. I've told you everything about anxiety, but can you stop anxiety? After the session, some situation comes, can you really stop this anxiety? No. But now, anxiety can never be stopped. Anxiety can never be controlled, but it can be channeled. I have few very famous personalities that I admire, and I would like to, introduce you to them. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. I want you, I know the names are written, but I think the pictures do justice, and I hope everyone's able to recognize, and I hope everyone knows who these people are on the screen. There's Sachin, there's Jemima, and there's Deepika. And there are those bitten nails as well. All of these people have anxiety. They have anxiety same like you do, and same like I do, or same like any other person. But these lessons from the legends I'm talking about today is because you cannot live without anxiety, but you can live with anxiety, at the same time channelize it, give it a direction that makes you more productive. Because if the anxiety is only causing distress, it will take you to suffering. But if the anxiety is channeled into you stress, into a positive stress, it will make you productive. How many times have you experienced that you have a deadline coming in and you become the most productive person, and you like the rush so much, you give the best results right before the deadlines? There are many. Deepika openly speaks about her anxiety, and she spoke about it. She told that there's like so many things that happen. There's so many rehearsals, there's so many schedules that they have to follow. She says that anxiety can never be taken away. But now she knows that she's in therapy, she talks about it, she says that she's not the only one in this. And then she's brought about a foundation as well. I don't know if you all know, it's called Live Love Laugh Foundation, something LLL. Yeah, she talks about it. Have you ever seen? I'm a good okayish fan of cricket. I do watch a lot of these matches, and then I've often seen Sachin always biting his nails, or you might see him adjusting his gloves again and again, or biting his strap of the helmet again and again. These are all the symptoms of anxiety. He's also spoken about it. He says that he is anxious, but he knows that he have to make it productive. He says he wants to do it in a way that only becomes positive, because he's always prepared. Then comes Jemima. You might have seen her crying on the ground. There's an interview that blew up after they won the match, where she speaks about how she's always crying, and she's always anxious about being dropped off the team and all of that. But did she give up? She said when the anxiety heightened, all her emotions, all her physical sensation, everything heightened, she channeled all of it, she brought her to present. She knew, okay, I have anxiety, I cannot do anything about it, but with this energy, this surplus energy that has come to me, I am going to win the match. I am going to give the best. And that is how we work. So many times when there's this rush and we feel so anxious, we are like, I know I'm not doing good, but chalo yaar, let's just do it and then we'll see what the results are. That is you channelizing the anxiety. That is you telling yourself, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. That exactly is channelizing. But only, listening from the lessons that the legends are doing it, even I can do it. Can you do it alone? Can you? I've told you, okay, how they do it, how they channelize it. They bring themselves to the present. They're always ready to, give their best. Can they? How is it that they're always, being productive and not going into the loop of suffering? Are they doing it alone? Next slide. So, okay, the slide says professional help and everything, but I want to talk to you about a case that I recently was seeing. So this young woman comes to me. She's 24, 25. She comes to me and then she reports that her TB has come back for the second time, and there was a lot of worry in everything. What do you think her diagnosis was? After me explaining all of this, I think you can diagnose her as well, which is not actually suggested, but yeah, she said she's worried the TB's come back and she was taking her medications. And then when I sat and spoke to her, I took the first session. I get to know that she's having problems in the family. She recently went through a breakup. She just finished college, but she's not able to land a job. And she's going to some institution, but their mock exams, their mock interviews are not going well. All of this, when I got to know, okay, your mind is not doing well. Hence, it triggered the physical symptoms which was actually present in her. Though her TB went away, that does not mean that it was, eradicated from the root. It was still there. This triggered the physical symptoms. Her TB came back. But I took one session, I took the second session, I took the third session. Third session, she comes and tells me, ma'am, I went for my regular checkups and we did the sonography and everything. And we found out that her, the cyst size was around 16, 17 mm, and after the third session, it came down to 7 to 8 mm. And that's when I told her, see, when someone's not doing well mentally, it affects the physical health. And that is when I also got to know that her blood levels were low and all of that. Because, weakness cannot be taken away. And the characteristic of weakness, one of the biggest characteristic of weakness is fear. And fear comes because of the unknown. This fear reduced all her levels. After sessions, when she was positively affirmed, after I told her that this is what you have and this is what we have to work with, therapy and counseling actually works, because seeking help is one way. It is a safe space for you, it is a confidential space for you where you can openly talk about, and you're not judged in that moment because they're there to listen to you. People half the time they don't go to therapy thinking what will the person think about me, will they think bad about me, will they think negatively about me. No, they will not think negatively about you, because it is something that is common and everyone has. There are times that they talk to their friends and they say ki after talking to my friends I've started feeling better. But professional help is something that they will actually, want. It will give them a better idea as to what exactly is happening, because we spend, lots of years studying, we do research, we work with people, and everyone, it is different. My anxiety will be different from your anxiety, right? So everything will be different. Professional help, see, I told you, this works on the mind. I can help you with the thoughts, I can help you with the what ifs, I can help you with the chronic procrastination that kicks in when you have anxiety, I can help you with not being on edge. But if someone's weak, if someone blood work shows that, they're not doing well, there comes in the holistic support. Next slide. Because, like I said, there's a link between the body and the mind, and this link needs to be addressed. Because only because you take good supplements for your body, that will not take away the struggle that the mental health is, taken a toss for. You need that energy. There are times that the energy levels go down when someone's anxious. They feel a lot of fatigue, they will not want to get out of bed, they'll not want to go out for a walk. They say touch the ground or touch the grass. This is a metaphor that people use so that, they actually go out. And we have very good, line of herbs and supplements in our DXin that helps with anxiety, because it is a holistic support. You just cannot take supplements and not take therapy, but you cannot only take therapy and, want everything to get better. Ashwagandha and Brahmi are the best herbs that you can consume because it works on the body level and the mind level. So there was this research paper I was going through when I was studying about anxiety. It was for people who found it difficult to sleep at night, because anxiety was working in a way that when someone's tired, you go to bed. But after half an hour or after 40 minutes to 1 hour, they recharge. The brain's recharged and then they're up again. They cannot sleep for any much longer and they are diagnosed with insomnia. They were given ashwagandha and Brahmi. And what did it show? It showed that they were able to sleep better. People started thinking that ashwagandha and Brahmi are sleeping pills. But no, they're not sleeping pills. They are given for anxiety because when they take ashwagandha, when they take Brahmi, it works on both their body and mind's level. It clears the fatigue goes away. They're able to think clear. There's no longer brain fog. Now they can do their daily work normally. Waking up in the morning, going to the office, or any work that they're doing, they're able to do it. Their days have become better. They're not stuck, and this helps them. And when you're able to do each and every activity properly throughout the day, you obviously get tired. And when your day goes well, then you'll have better sleep at night. That is how it works, because it will help you, it will support you, because it is like that pillar in that building where the fire broke out, which is still holding the building, right? And then again there's lion's mane and cordyceps. It will give you energy. There are times that, even slowed metabolism in your body can cause anxiety. There's this one that I was talking to again someone, and they were saying that there are times that we feel very light and there are times that we feel very heavy, right? So I was like, doctor, why do we feel like that sometimes? And then he was like, yeah, it happens. And then when we spoke about it further, the weight on the weighing scale does not change. If you're 50 kgs, you will be 50 kgs only. But still, there are times that you feel light. you feel heavy. It's because of the metabolism. It is because you're able to regulate that well, and you are able to everything, the all the digestive system in your body, if it works well, will you not feel well? Will the energy that it is producing, will you not feel well? You have more energy, you would want to do more work. Metabolism not good, energy levels not good, and then you would not want to do good work, and if you're not able to do work, then anxiety kicks in. People with anemia, if they're given spirulina and their blood levels go really well, their anxiety will vanish because there's no weakness. The weakness goes away, then the fear goes away. And if the fear goes away, if the anxiety kicks in, they know how to work along with it. And that is how the holistic support is very important when it comes to someone dealing with anxiety. Next slide. Okay, have you seen, because I spoke about Sachin earlier, I was going through one of his interviews where he said that on the days of the match, he wakes up in the morning, he makes a good tea for himself, he sits, he has the tea, he irons his clothes, he does all of this like a grounding ritual, so that he knows that he's prepared for the match. He knows everything's in place for the match. So we have, again, very beautiful infused coffees and teas. Teas are in the Eastern culture, the Japanese culture, all of these culture, they have teas. You see that they don't have big cups. They have small cups, and they promote drinking tea and all of that, drinking coffee and all of that, because it calms them down. When you have a big amount of coffee or a big amount of tea, you would want to finish it. You won't be there. When you're having, you feel that you're very restless, you're very anxious, go make yourself a cup of coffee, make a 3-in-1, make a 2-in-1, any coffee, a little bit, sit there and sip. This will calm you, because it will not take you to the past, it will not take you to the future, because you're in, when you're making something, you're in that moment and you have to make it a certain way, and then you're sitting there sipping that cup of coffee or a cup of tea. It is going to help you, it will bring you back. Okay, coffee is good. There's another picture on this slide which says or soothe the depth. What do you think that is? It's one person lying down and the other person massaging. So this gives away that I'm going to talk about our massage oil. But I'm going to talk about touch here. The massage oil, yes, you need the massage oil to massage yourself for self-care or caring for the partner or caring for a baby or caring for your parents or caring for your siblings. You need, when you're giving someone a massage, you need the massage oil. You might have seen this clip across the internet that crazy blew off, about a monkey named Punch. It was around, the small monkey having, they had given the monkey a small stuffed monkey, and the monkey was very happy because the monkey was abandoned. This is often seen that when someone's abandoned, when there's no one there for them, they would want a familiarity. They would want to feel the warmth. They would want to feel the touch. They would want to feel safe. This brings me to another experiment that was conducted a few years ago, where there was a monkey, a small monkey, and it did not have a mom. So these experimenters, what they did, they, in a small room, they placed two monkeys, okay, the two dolls. One doll was made of cotton, and the other doll, a big doll, was made of metal, and it had a feeding bottle. because the monkey did not have a mom, the mother, they used to feed it with the feeding bottle. Okay, so guess which doll the baby monkey chose. Was it the metal one, or was it the one that was made out of cotton, which did not have milk, the feeding bottle, but the metal one had the feeding bottle? That abandoned monkey chose the monkey which was made out of cotton. It did not care about milk. It did not care about, uh, quenching the thirst, or, doing something for the hunger. It was because of affection. It is because when someone feels abandoned, they want that touch, they want to feel safe. And massaging yourself, you take a little bit of oil, massage yourself when you're very anxious, you make it as a ritual. This will say that you're cared for, that there is someone for you, and you will not feel that you're alone in this. Give your partner a good massage, because we have tight shoulders. This actually helps, because when you know you that there is someone for you, you feel the connection with them, the affection comes in, and all of this anxiety, it reduces, because you're not alone. You have to go to a new country, you have no idea who's there, what is going to happen. If you go alone, anxiety will be like 100 times. But if you go with someone that you know, you go with a friend of yours to a new country, will the anxiety be there? Yes, it will be there, but you will know that you're not alone in that. You will not be the only one facing everything in happening in that new country. Because when we don't know, the fear kicks in. But when we know, the fear, the anxiety is still there, but we are better prepared for it. A pregnant lady, does she not know that there'll be a lot of changes in her body, that she has to give birth, there's so much happening, she's always worried if the baby's heartbeat is good, if the supplements are reaching, if everything is going well. She knows everything, she knows she will go through immense pain, but as the due date is almost there, is near, she will have anxiety. Because knowing does not take away anxiety. Knowing only tells you that, okay, this is something that will happen, but you can prepare for it. You study. Can we take the next slide? Yeah. So when you acknowledge, the lady acknowledges that, okay, this is what is going to happen to my body, this is what I will experience, and then she accepts the situation. Now this is a done deal. You had an exam coming up, you studied for the exam, you did not study for the exam, you prepared for that situation, or you did not prepare for the situation. You acknowledge, and then you accept, and then you support yourself. Okay, this works or this does not work. Then it will tell you, okay, this is how it is, and then you go in better prepared. It depends on the results, because you cannot be in a maybe when it comes to anxiety. It's either a yes or a no, because anxiety brings in confusion, anxiety brings in the unknown, anxiety brings in everything that will say, what will you do if something happens? But if for a minute can channelize, I just have to do this, what happens, we will deal with the consequences after that. Because you're not alone in this. I'm not saying that anxiety is very common, it's generalized, you cannot help it. But yes, from awareness, when given direction, when channelized, will take you to results. And this is very important, because only if you know that, okay, this is what and this is how it happens, you'll be able to work around it, you'll be able to vocalize it better, and you will be able to tell others this is what you're going through, because it is not physical, it is not, sorry, it is not only physical, it is also mental. And that is anxiety from Amukta to all of you. I hope everyone's understood it. I tried to keep it very simple. I eliminated majority of the jargons, at least 99-95% of the jargons that we were taught during the when we were doing, you know, my bachelor's and my master's in anxiety and all of that. I hope everyone understood. If you have, you know, anything related, any questions related to any of this, then we can take up, we can explore more. You can raise your hands and then we can, you know, unmute and take up your questions.
Okay, so what a wonderful session it was,
Thank you.
Amukta.
Thank you so much.
And how beautifully you explained how this anxiety is working, how it is making us do things, even when we know it is going to happen, we cannot control it, right?
Yes.
And how, if we can channelize it well, we can be great at the things which we are doing, right? As you gave example of Sachin Tendulkar and Jamima. And I think Sachin also said that in the early almost 12-13 years of his career, he could not sleep
Yes.
on the
Yes.
eve of the match. So
Yes.
if tomorrow is a big match, it's a very international match, especially India-Pakistan match, then he
He
cannot
would
sleep.
lose his
He-
sleep. Well, you know, when you're
Yeah.
talking about Sachin, it reminds me of because my dad was in the army. I thought people in the army, don't they feel anxious and don't they have therapists? And later I got to know actually they also, you know, feel anxiety, and that is how they're trained. They're trained through stealth and surprise. They're always put in a situation, everyone who's undergoing training, of surprise, that it gets to a point that the anxiety, they get used to it. It's not like there's a situation that happens, there's a simulation that is happening and they don't feel the anxiety. They feel it, but now they're prepared for it. So it is one of the ways that even the people in the army are, you know, trained.
Yeah. So when you are exposed to certain situations,
Yes.
uncomfortable situations, maybe over a period of time we get accustomed to it. Like you gave example of the smell.
Yes.
So maybe like that, how it works, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, it was a wonderful session. And if anyone has any questions, if they want to discuss something, they can definitely raise their hands. We can take up some questions. We have little time, and if not, then wonderful. You explained it really well.
Yeah, I hope everyone had a, you know, a good 1 hour where I took you through anxiety. I hope you've understood what it is, and the examples maybe made it a little simpler for you. I'm just here to tell you that, you know, you're not alone in this, and it is something, it is a common phenomena. It's just, you know, the mechanism of survival that is miscalibrated for a while, and seeking professional help and seeking help through supplements, and for consultation contacting on our number would, you know, help you. Miss Vishakha asks a difficult, okay, she's saying, oh, thank you,
Okay.
thank you so much. So for the proportion of the tablets, because we have a general audience here, we'll have to talk, consult, and then I see where you stand, and then I can tell you the proportion of the tablets.
But just to start, and because we have general audience here,
Yes.
on every bottle or every supplement you take, there is a recommended dose.
Yes.
You can definitely start from that if you do not have any problem. But definitely, if you have some problem, you can contact the below given number. You can consult with our team of doctors, and then we'll be able to guide you better. But if you have to start, you can start with the recommended dose.
Any example on therapy or counseling which you give to the patient, if you can share here? So I actually do integrative therapy. It changes for every person, every patient, because it depends on how they are. I check their logical levels. I check where they're doing in terms of a situation that they're going through. So everything is different. If they're going through grief, I take them there. I'm talking about more emotions. I'm talking more about their rationalization of the emotions and all of that. And if they're going through some behavioral difficulty, I take them to dialectical behavioral therapy. So I my core is ACT that I work on, acceptance and commitment therapy, but it changes for every person because every person is different and their situations are different. The way they look at anything, everything that they're going through is different. So it changes for everyone. But yes, if you have any concerns, yes, I can take a consultation for you.
Yeah, so definitely we take therapy now as well. And if you know someone who needs therapy, who needs guidance, or if you need some help with some matters, right? You can always
Yeah.
contact the clinic with the given number, and you can book a session with Mukta. If you have any physical illness, you can book a consultation with our Ayurvedic doctors, or if you have any problems related to the body, you can book a session with me as a physiotherapist,
I
right?
think we have a
Okay.
question, right? Mr. Prabhat, he's raised his hand.
Yeah.
Can we take his question? Yeah.
Mr. Prabhat, please unmute yourself. Can you just ask him to mute? Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Ma'am, which product use DXN product for anxiety?
You can take ashwagandha and brahmi that we have. It actually helps with anxiety. It will work directly for your anxiety. But to support, you can also take lion's mane, you can take cordyceps, anything and everything that is there. Like there's RGGL that also helps with anxiety because it, your body is functioning well, then it will support the mind. And yeah, we obviously have ashwagandha and brahmi that works for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't see any further questions, but definitely if you have questions after the session as well, you can definitely contact the clinic. We will love to answer your questions, answer your doubts, right? With that, it brings us to end of today's session, and
Yes.
we will see you next Saturday with another topic being picked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Mukta. Thank you so much for the
Yeah.
valuable insights you provided as a psychologist. And thank you so much to every one of you for being patient, for being attentive enough, for being interactive, and making this session a huge success, right? Okay, so until next week, goodbye, take care, good morning.
Thank you. Yeah.